Greetings YouTube, Captain Machine here, back for another video, and I'm aware by now that the name of calling these videos shorts is ironic, so I think I'll stop. Because I've covered everything up until the point where I started role-playing, and once I started role-playing, things moved at a very frantic pace in my life. So rather than telling you everything I encountered as and when I encountered it, I'm going to tell you about how I encountered individual systems or settings or things like that, and how it got to where I am today. Those of you interested, these are my keys. There's a lot of them. I've got a work key, I've got my old house key, which as you can see I'm still in at the moment, bike key, and about 3 different keys for my new house, and obviously a little thingy to go in the trolleys. Yeah, it's quite a... You could hurt somebody with that, you really could. It's got a Marvel Comics tab on it. Yeah, moving in on Monday the 8th, but my internet won't be connected until the 17th. So, why I'm going to be filming and editing and doing stuff for the Captain Machine show, because I want to get that back off the ground again, you'll not see any of that until the 17th. If you do see anything, it'll be shorts like this on the iPad, which I can film and record, and then go around to my parents' house when I go and visit them, and I can use their internet to upload it, because it's a very quick and easy process once you've got an actual active internet connection. So yeah, there's going to be a slight delay in stuff coming out, but on to the show. As the title will no doubt say above, this is how I encountered Ravenloft, because Ravenloft is a unique situation for me. Obviously when I say Ravenloft I also mean Dungeons and Dragons, because I had previously played a tiny bit of Dungeons and Dragons. I ran an adventure, and I had tried to find somebody else to play it with, in terms of the fact that I did go to the club meetings for... It was like a big hall full of different clubs trying to get members at university, and there was a role-playing club. I had an hour with them, but the honest truth was, because I was commuting to university every day rather than living there, it would have been impossible for me to actually partake, because I would have been trying to catch a train at 11:30, 12 o'clock at night when they don't run. So I just couldn't go, and it's a real shame, because those guys sounded great. I mean, talking to them, they really did. Actually, they were really into the vampire stuff, which I had not known about up until that point. But I read into it later, obviously, which we'll talk about at another time. But I did go to Danum Games, which is a game shop I discovered in Doncaster once I'd been directed to it from Games Workshop, because in Danum Games it was famous for most of the people I knew for selling second-hand Warhammer 40,000 models. And it was not a bad place. I mean, we see them nowadays in shops all over the place, and they get charged astronomical fees, especially if they're painted. But back then, maybe not so much. And I got talking with the owner. I'm not going to mention any names because I don't want to be in a situation where I might accidentally offend anybody. But I'm talking to the owner and asking him what kind of things he stocked and such and so forth. And I did notice the RPG stuff. There was not a lot of it, but there was some there. And I had a chat with him about that. He says, well, if you're a role player, do you play a lot? Well, I've tried running it once, and I kind of have a basic grasp of what role playing is because I've read about it on the internet. And he went, well, if you're interested, we've got a group together and we're going to start playing a GURPS game. Would you like to come and play? It's like on Wednesday night or something like that. And I went, yeah, I'd love that, because where they were going to hold it was at the top of the rooms at the top of the shop, and it would have been easy for me to get home because it wasn't too far from where I lived. And yeah, I showed up, and on the night that we were playing, I had brought pizza money because I'd read on the internet that everyone eats pizzas at role-playing groups. We never ordered pizza. I think I got a bottle pop and some chocolate, and that kept me going for the rest of the night. And they said to us, we're not playing GURPS, we're going to play Ravenloft. Another friend of mine, who became a friend of mine, was running the last 2 adventures of Grand Conjunction by themselves. It was From the Shadows and Roots of Evil, which is interesting because when you encounter the Hescosa scrolls through the adventure, a lot of the references don't make sense because we're trying to attribute meanings in the prophecy to things that happened in the adventure when they weren't. Kind of weird. But it was a lot of fun. I got to play a 9th level cleric, and then when he died at the end of... actually died at the beginning of Roots of Evil, so I rolled up a Crypt Ranger, which was a kit for the Ranger, which was a kit that was in my Halloween Dragon magazine, the first one I ever bought, and I'm going to look for it when I do my when I do all the stuff moving around the next couple of days. I'm going to try and find it and show it you, because it is really, really good. Yeah, I had so much fun with it. When the adventure was over and done, which took a couple of months, I was just blown away. I really loved the horror themes, the horror setting, and as such, basically, the guy who ran it basically agreed to sell me his collection of it, which wasn't a lot, but it was enough to get me started. It was mostly Grand Conjunction and a few other adventures, and shortly after that I started collecting it myself and running the Grand Conjunction, because I had at that point acquired all the parts to it, and I'd read on the forums about how to, and this is back when there was a proper Ravenloft forum. There is a Ravenloft forum now, but it's nowhere near as populated as the old one used to be. So I had a rough idea of how to run it and such and so forth, and I'd got another group of friends to play it with me. I was really enjoying it, and then 3rd edition dropped. Now I converted everything to 3rd edition, and I carried on running the campaign. But most people I know translated over to 3rd edition as well, and a lot of people dropped their 2nd edition collections like a stone. So I went to Triples the year after 3rd edition came out, and I spent like over £200 with massive carrier bags full of Ravenloft Adventures, Ravenloft source books, Van Richten's guides, Children of the Night, all that different kind of things. I had a couple of box sets. I must have had 2 or 3 versions of Castle Fallen. And over the years, I have built up my collection of Ravenloft material quite extensively, to the point now where there is one book missing, and that is the 3.5 hardback version of the Masks of the Red Death, which I'm not a huge fan of at all, but I would like it for the completeness sakes, and I still love to run it even to this day. It's been a while since I last ran it. I haven't run it in the new Pathfinder. I did run it in Pathfinder Beta, and it worked out okay. Although it did seem a little bit overpowered, so what I need to do is basically up-tweak everything in terms of how terrifying, how scary everything is, so that Pathfinder characters don't overwhelm it. So yeah, there is that. So yeah, Ravenloft for me was the first ever setting I played in, with the first ever game I ever played, which was Dungeons & Dragons. So Dungeons & Dragons holds a special place in my heart, so I will be paying attention to Dungeons & Dragons next. I think my friend of mine is going to start running the beta for it, so I'm going to get to play that as well. And Ravenloft has such a great place in my heart because of the fact that I had, basically, it was my first ever encounter with a published system and a published setting. Now, with those same group of friends, I went on to gain the nickname of Young'un, because I was the youngest amongst them at the time. They did kind of lie to me, though, because they did tell me that I was called Young'un because I was youngest, and once another younger person would show up, the title would pass on to them. That was a lie. So I'm now 32, and I'm still Young'un. You know, that's my nickname now. I can't get rid of it. Well, it's better than the alternative, which is Heed. You have to watch Sorry I Married an Axe-Murderer to get that reference. So yeah, that's kind of where my obsession with horror games started from, which is why I love things like Slay Industries, which is why I love Call of Cthulhu, which is to a certain extent why I love Warhammer 40,000, although that also can be attributed to the fact that I played a lot of the tabletop games for it. Oh, and World of Darkness especially, because that is a fantastic set of horror games. Maybe not so much with the new World of Darkness, or then again, I could just be me not be able to find the players for it. But yeah, I thought I'd share that with you. I think next time we're going to talk about, we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to talk about something different in terms of one of the second ever role players I ever played, which was Mech Warrior. Thanks for your time, guys. Goodbye.